Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursdays. We're very, very glad you're with us. It's October 29th. Hard to believe another month is almost gone. Thank you very much for being with us. October 29th, 2020. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career.fw Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment, name, and picture to appear. If you're on Zoom, we're asked that you please use the speaker view, which is what it looks like in the lower left-hand corner, where you can then adjust the size of the speaker and the size of the PowerPoint slide by where that red arrow is. If you're on a PC or Mac, you can grab it and you can slide it back and forth to whatever aspect ratio you'd like to have it at. If you're on Zoom, if you have any questions as you think about them, please just put them in the chat box. And for those people on Facebook, please just enter your questions in the comment field. I am monitoring that feed and I'll be sure to answer any questions that come up. Let's see here. So we are going to review 1 or 2 resumes today. If you would like to submit a resume, you can do so by using the chat box where you'll see the little file where that blue arrow is. But before you submit it, you may want to remove your header information. You can become Tom Cruise, Angelina Jolie, whoever you'd like to be today, Mickey Mouse, and just hide that stuff because your contact and that information will be on Facebook and YouTube from here till the electrons stop electroning itself, I guess. Well, good afternoon. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career.fw back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. I've also wrote a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. You're welcome to drive by my house. I'll throw one out the door to you. You can just throw $10 out the door, or you can go buy it on Amazon if you'd like. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Well, this week our speaker is Carol Burkell. She's a certified professional career coach. Carol has been with us for most of this time since we've got started here. So Carol, thank you for being with us and take it away.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, for that introduction. And now I will share my screen to show my PowerPoint slide. Get it into slideshow mode. It's thinking. Here we go. I'd like to welcome everyone. It looks like we've got a great group here today. And I don't think we've had anybody volunteer to share their resume yet. And this is everyone's favorite part of the session. At the end of the session, we show a couple of sample resumes. And everybody really gets a lot out of that. So if 1 or 2 people could bravely just send it to us in chat as a file attachment. And as Jeff mentioned, you can change your name and blank out change your contact information to remain anonymous if you wish. And that really is everyone's favorite part of the session. So to get started, I'd like for everyone to click on the participant box, and I'm going to do that as well. And when you open the participant box, you'll see that you can click on a green check mark, a red X. And if you could, click on the green check mark if you've seen one of these Resume Thursday sessions before, and the red X if you've never seen one of these sessions before. A lot of returning people, a lot of return. Well, it's good. Good, yeah, a few new people, that's great. And a few returning people. We always try to rotate the content and show new content every time to make it fresh. And what makes it really interesting is when we do share a sample resume. Excellent. And the next thing I'd like for everyone to click on is the chat box. And I will be doing the same thing. And I'm sliding it over there to my other monitor so I can monitor chat. And this is where you can type in a question or a comment at any time because we can all learn from each other. And one thing Jeff and I've noticed is when you share, and we're talking about resumes today, and when you share your resume with 10 different experts, you'll get 10 different opinions. So you'll get some ideas from us, but it's really up to you to leverage what resonates most with you. So we'll share lots of different ideas, and I like to hear other people's perspectives as well, based on your experience. And to get warmed up in the chat box, I'd like for everyone to go in there and answer this question. Do you also have, typically a resume is typically 2-page long for a professional person. Ooh, we got a sample resume. I'm going to go ahead and download that and save that to my folder for today. So thank you for sharing your resume. That's very nice of you. Good. So if everybody could go into chat and answer this question, in addition to a 2 or 3 page detailed resume, do you also have a 1-page bio? And if so, when have you used that kind of document? So if you could go into chat and type yes or no. Not everyone does have one, but I'm curious to see if anyone does. And if so, where they may have used it. And somebody says they have one in progress. And yes, and here's one. One person says they do have one and they use it for informational interviews. And that's a perfect use. And somebody used it in our past company. I did too. When I was at EDS, we'd submit it for government proposals. And one thing that's good about using them for informational interviews is when you show somebody a resume, it kind of announces that you're looking for a job, and it might make the person feel like, feel awkward because they don't have a job to offer you, and you just want to have a conversation. You just want to get their feedback and their advice. So you want to share maybe a softer document that provides just a little bit of information about who you are. So they can be a useful document in some situations. And we'll be talking about those today. That's kind of our theme for today. And we'll be sharing a template. And by way of background, and as I mentioned, each time you talk to an expert in career coaching or resume writing, you'll hear different perspectives. And so this is my background, and so why I have the perspective that I do. I worked for 30 years as a hiring manager in an IT firm, EDS, that was acquired by Hewlett Packard. And then I took early retirement in 2012 because I really felt a calling to get out in the world and get experience as a recruiter, so I could really understand how the staffing world works so that I could help people find jobs. So I ended up with some wonderful experience. I worked both in agency and corporate environments. And I've placed people in a variety of different roles: accounting, finance, HR, project management, sales, a whole bunch of different roles. And then, like Jeff, I volunteer for the Dallas PIT crew. That stands for Practice Interview Team. And if you haven't practiced with somebody in preparation for an interview, I highly recommend it. And we've shared I think we've shared the PIT crew. Yeah, PIT crew information in chat. Yes. So if you look in chat, there's a little thing you can download about the PIT crew. All you have to do is send them an email with your resume and a sample job description, and we'll put together a mock panel interview for you. And then I'm also certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. And let's see, here's my resume. Okay. Yes, got a second resume. Good. So we are good to go for today. Thank you to those who've shared your resume. The rest of the audience really appreciates that. I always have one in my hip pocket to show, but it's always more fun to show real live resumes. And as I mentioned, I worked for a couple of staffing agencies, and most recently I retired from Next Step Recruiting, which is a wonderful staffing agency. And these are some of the hot jobs that they've been recruiting for over the last couple of weeks. And they specialize in recruiting for accounting, finance, payroll, billing, HR, and marketing, and digital e-commerce analysts. So if you are in any of those types of roles, and then also programming level IT type of roles, please reach out to me and I can get you connected with a good recruiter. And I highly recommend, as part of your job search strategy, I mean, number one, you need to be networking with people. You need to be applying to jobs online and then following up with somebody once you've applied so that you can get an interview. And then I also recommend getting in touch with 1 or 2 really good recruiters, because they can be good resources, free resources for you to give you feedback about your resume, feedback about the job market, and then they would be the ones to present you to hiring managers. So I highly recommend that as part of your strategy. So if you'd like to be introduced to a really good recruiter, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we'll be sharing my information about LinkedIn at the end of the session. So here's our agenda today. During part one, we'll be reviewing some basic information about applicant tracking systems, one-page executive bios, and we'll also talk about the concept of having a master resume. And then we'll talk about key components of a resume, and then we'll review our resume samples. And the time will fly. And Jeff, this is funny. This is the fastest hour of the week for me. This time always flies. On Thursday, it's like, whoa, it's already been an hour. Anyway, so I hope it's flying and useful for all of you out there as well. And just to quickly review about applicant tracking systems. These are the systems when you apply online and for jobs. And what they do is they parse or they read the data from your resume and put it into the database in their systems, like your names, your job titles, the dates, and the companies that you worked for. And so you don't want to use any special characters in the version of the resume you upload into an applicant tracking system. Things like underlined boxes or special formatting characters, like special characters for bullet points, because that can mess up the data reading process. But you do want to make sure that the keywords in your resume align to the job description. And you don't want to use the header and footer function of Microsoft Word, because especially in some systems like Workday specifically, they don't read that data. And each applicant tracking system kind of works differently. So you may hear conflicting things about the different systems. And if you want to compare your resume to a job description to see how good of a match you are, you can use tools online such as jobscan.co. And that's correct. It's not a typo. And you can also, in many systems, when you're applying online, upload your resume as an attachment. And please do that when you do that, because I know when I worked as a corporate recruiter and I was going into the ATS system every day, I would click on those resumes, and that's what I would look at, the ones that were loaded as an attachment. And I never had time to look at the cover letters. But if they ask for one, it's kind of nice to provide one. And we have a real simple template that you can use if you wish to upload a cover letter. And as I mentioned regarding ATS systems, each ATS system, Workday, Taleo, iSIMS, and all the others, they all work differently. And when companies install them, they can configure them differently. And so they all kind of work differently. So just kind of keep a big picture in mind that when you're uploading your resume, have a document that's clean from any special formatting. And then if you can, like in Workday, review the data that's been submitted to see if you need to clean up anything. Make sure it got your last name correctly and it doesn't say comma PMP or comma MBA. And the most important thing, when you're uploading a resume or applying online, is to reach out to a person, because your chances of getting called for an interview are virtually zero when you apply online. It's actually the percentage that I've read is you have a 2% chance on a scale of 1 to 100, 2% chance. And I found that to be true when I worked as a recruiter. I wouldn't call very many people out of the hundreds of people that would apply online. So it's important to reach out to a person once you've applied. And when I say a person, what I recommend is if you know somebody at the company, reach out to them, because then they can refer you to the recruiting manager and they might get a referral bonus if you're hired. So don't worry about bothering somebody, because you might be doing them a favor. They might be getting a little bonus. Or if you don't have any friends or contacts at the company, reach out to the recruiter who posted that job. If you see their name, sometimes on LinkedIn, they post their name so you can see the name of the recruiter. Or if you don't know the name of the recruiter, I recommend going one level up, search on LinkedIn for a recruiting manager or talent acquisition leader at that company. And do you reach out a day after applying or 2 days? I'd reach out ASAP. I would apply online and I would immediately reach out. Don't wait. in the world of recruiting, what I was trained, time is money, and time kills all deals. Do everything quickly. And in fact, like if anybody says to you, oh, forward your resume to me, I think I have a lead for you, do it ASAP. So work with a sense of urgency. So reach out right away. And if you don't know how to reach the people, just call the main number for the company and ask to speak to so-and-so. Once you've kind of researched their name, either the recruiting manager or the actual recruiter, if you have their name. And what if they don't respond? You find another person. Well, what I recommend is reach out actually by phone and leave them a voice message. Nowadays, the operator would probably transfer them to their cell phone. And then maybe a day later, or no, I would do it the same day. Follow up with a LinkedIn personal message and use these words. Say, I wanted to introduce myself. I just applied for your job. Leave the requisition number and say, I meet the requirements for the job. Those are the golden words that you need to share with that recruiter or hiring manager or recruiter manager. If they hear that, that's golden to them and they will probably reach out to you. So don't just say I'm interested in the job or I just applied. Say I applied and I'd really like to talk to you because I meet all the requirements. I'd love to tell you about my skills and how I can be of benefit. So maybe hopefully that'll help. And before we talk about actual resumes, I wanted to spend a moment talking about one-page executive bios. And these are documents, again, that are different from a resume that you can use when you're, as several people mentioned, when you're doing informational interviews or when you're just networking, or if you're kind of new to the job market and you're doing a direct mail campaign for yourself and sending out a message to maybe 25 of your favorite people on LinkedIn, you could include a copy of your executive bio. And I highly recommend that. Pick your favorite 20 people and send them a message and say, confidentially, I wanted to let you know I'm looking for my next opportunity. These are the types of roles I'm looking for. And here's the value I bring. Here are my areas of expertise. If you know of anybody or have any suggestions, please let me know. And I'm attaching a copy of my bio. So I highly recommend this. And you can read about executive bios in this book by Mina Brown called Be Sharp, and it's available for free. And Jeff, did you have any comments about this book or about Mina? She's been a good speaker.
It's a great book. I mean, it's wonderful. Be sure that if you get the second edition, and it's free. I guess if you have Amazon Prime, you can download it on a Kindle. Otherwise, it's like 17, 18 bucks if you need to buy it from Amazon and have them deliver the hard copy. The book's broken up into two different sections. The first half of the book is all about your 30-second introduction and how to introduce yourself. The second half of the book is all about the one-page bio. And the second edition happens to have like 30 different bio examples in there. They really expanded that section because they realized how important it was for people to have bios. So this is one of 3 books that I highly recommend everybody should have during a job search.
Great. Thank you for that, Jeff. So this is excellent. And here's an example of what her bio is. And you can see it looks different from a resume. And here are some kind of differences between a bio and a resume. A resume really does kind of send the signal that you're looking for a job, but a bio can be used in many networking type of situations. A resume focuses on your work history details, and a bio focuses on major accomplishments that you can fit on one page. And resumes used for a job search, and bio can be used for a variety of places. Resumes should be used by everyone, and bios are primarily for senior people, but I'm starting to see more and more people use bios for networking, and I think that's a great idea to do that. And one thing we're doing also is just sharing a sample version of a bio with just some of my information plugged in, just to give you an idea of a sample. And I got this format because I actually was searching for some formats that I thought were easy to read and simple to create. I couldn't find any online. I need to relook at Mina's book. But one of my career coaching clients had found this format And so he had his information, and I just kind of plugged in my information to be able to share it with people as an example, because it just shows major areas of expertise. You know, one paragraph information about my background, my professional biography, education and certification, and contact information, and then just summaries of major achievements. So, so this is a very simple, it's just a Microsoft Word. You don't have to use anything special like Adobe or anything to create this. And we've shared this in the chat box, so you're welcome to download it and use it if you wish.
And for those people who happen to be watching on Facebook, I see we have 8 or 9 people on Facebook watching. I'll give you my email address at the end, and you can email me, and I'll be glad to forward it on to you.
Great, great. Thank you, Jeff. Good. And the other concept we wanted to talk about before we dive into a normal resume is the concept of a master resume. And Jeff, I was wondering if you wanted to say a couple words about this.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is something that everybody needs to have. You need to have a master resume, maybe up to 10 pages long. It could be 15 pages long. It could be 20 pages long, just depending on what you've done in your career. It should have everything on there since high school. And if you did a job in high school or an internship in high school that's relevant to what you do, you will include that. You want to have dates, you want to have addresses, name of the company, supervisor names, 8, 10, 15 bullet points for each job that you had. And then when you compile this thing, then when you actually see a job posting, you take your master resume, save it as, and you get rid of everything that's not in the job description, because you don't want to confuse the recruiter when they only spend 7 or 10 seconds looking at your resume. You want to make it as obvious as you can that you're looking for this, and this is my experience, and we match up with what you're trying to do. So, you know, you take your 10-page resume, you get it down to 1 page or 2 pages or maybe 3 pages if it's relevant information. I'm sure a lot of people, you always want to talk about all the other cool things you've done, but remember, your resume is like a fishing hook. You're just trying to get them to call you to go to the next step. So you've got to make it as simple and as plain as you can to match it up.
Great. Thank you for that, Jeff. And as I've worked with people as a career coach, I like this concept, and I tell people to do this. And then sometimes what people will do is take their master resume. And for example, I had somebody that was looking for 2 types of jobs, either a project manager job or a product manager. They've done both. And so what they did was they created a project management version of their resume that was just 2 pages long, focusing on their areas of expertise regarding project management. So they had that kind of available. And then every time they applied for project management jobs, they would just tweak it for those specific project manager jobs. And then they took their product manager when they were managing products and created a product manager resume. And so when they're applying for product manager jobs, they would just tweak that. So they did kind of an interim step to create a kind of a master job specific resume. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And another nice thing about the master resume is in the future, as you add a new job and as you do new things, or when you see a job, you go, you know, I used to do that back then. I wonder what was the information. You don't have to think about it. I mean, I know I have a file that has resumes back to in the 90s that I submitted to places. And it's like, well, why do I have all these little intermediate resumes? I should just make a master one, and you only have to keep track of 1 document, really. So,
right.
Handy.
Good. Yeah, I think that's an excellent concept. Okay, good. And so now what we're going to do is talk about actually an actual resume. And your goal, as Jeff mentioned, is to make it really easy. Make it easy for the ATS system to see that you're a good match for the job. And so therefore you have to kind of write for the machine and use the exact same language or similar keywords that are used in the job description. You don't want to cut and paste sentences because recruiters can spot that a mile away, but you do want to leverage the keywords. And then you want to make it easy for screeners and recruiters to see that you're a good match for the job. So you want your formatting to be clean, lots of white space. And you want the overall length to be approximately 2 pages for a professional resume. That's the sweet spot. That's the recommendation I hear typically from recruiters. There can be some exceptions for highly technical jobs or government jobs. And I get the question a lot, especially for people like me that have a lot of years of service. How many years should you put on your resume? And here's where we have, I think, a little polling question that I'm always interested in hearing what resonates best with people. And as I mentioned, there are always different ways of approaching each situation, and you have to choose what works best for you. So the one option is to show all of your experience. And when I applied for a job at the age of 55, and then again at 60, I showed everything because the people I was networking with knew I'd been with ATS forever. So I just showed everything, but not many people do that. And I can see 0 people have responded to that option. And some people only show the most recent 10 or 15 years. And when I worked as a recruiter, I saw a lot of resumes like that, and they looked chopped off because the job titles were things like director, VP. And I was like, isn't there something else? Is there something missing? It looks like there's something missing. And what I found is that hiring managers really preferred the third option, where people would put more details about their most recent jobs, maybe 10, 15, or maybe even 20 years worth of experience, and then have another heading that says prior relevant experience, where you can list the company names and your titles, and you don't have to put dates for that section on your resume. Now, when you fill out an application and on LinkedIn, you have to put your dates, but on your resume, you don't have to. And that way, a hiring manager feels like they're getting the full picture, and it doesn't look like something is being hidden. So that's just a suggestion there. And I see that most people have gone with that option. That's good. Great. Okay. And then one question I get a lot is how to fill a gap in the resume. And this can happen either between jobs, if you spend 6 months or so looking for a job, how to fill in that gap. And I'm seeing it more and more now. If somebody got laid off in 2019 and then they were looking for a job this year and then the pandemic hit, some people are getting quite a long gap on their resume. And so if that's happened to you, you are not alone at all. And so what I encourage you to do is to do some community leadership work or some continuing education or consulting, maybe even pro bono consulting, so that you can put something on your resume in addition to your job search, and you can add some bullets. So here's an example. If I were to do this on my resume, I would put something like, as a heading, instead of the company name and job title, I would put this heading, community leadership and consulting. And I would put a couple of bullets regarding the community leadership and consulting work I've done. And for example, what I've done is I've served as a panelist and coach for the Dallas Pit Crew to help people find jobs. And then the other bullet is I've provided consulting services for a local nonprofit on how to prepare to conduct job interviews. And that one was actually pro bono work with a local church, but it was consulting. I was using my skills in the community. So I encourage you while you're in your job search mode to do something, a leadership where you're demonstrating your skills and using your skills. Do some pro bono consulting with maybe friends that run a small business or something so that you can put something on your resume. And sometimes people have put continuing education when you've received certifications or something significant that you can put on your resume as well. And at any time, if you have any questions or comments about any of this, feel free. When you see me looking over here, I'm just looking at my the chat box over on my other screen right now.
Yeah, on Facebook, Melissa's asking, can you show an example of a good resume format? We will get to that in just a couple minutes. So
great lead in.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Great lead in. And we'll attach a sample attach a sample in the chat for those that are on Zoom, and those are on Facebook. Once again, you could send an email to Jeff and he'll send you the templates. And the resume sample that we're using today, or the sample template, is something that I had developed when I worked as a recruiter, and I received feedback from hiring managers regarding what they wanted to see and what they didn't want to see on resumes. So I came up with a template, and I apologize if you could hear a lawnmower in the background or a leaf blower. Can you hear that? I hope you can't. Anyway, it happens all the time. Anyway, there's a leaf blower out there. And then coincidentally, this template that I came up with is almost identical to what they taught me when I got my certification as a resume writer. And also it's very similar to one of the templates they use in the career transition workshops here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we'll walk through the key components of a resume, and then we will attach a sample template in the chat box. So you'll start with your heading, make it real clean, easy to see your name. And you don't need to include your physical street address, but you do want to include these other 4 pieces of information: your phone number, the closest major city where you are. So I was looking at a resume the other day and they had some suburb of Dallas, and I've lived here since 1978, but I had no idea where that town was. So if you're basically in the Dallas area or Dallas-Fort Worth area, put a major city. And then a professional looking email address. Don't put something silly like my cousin's email is Bunsy Baby. Anyway, don't use something like that. Use something that looks almost like a professional email with your name and some numbers if you need to make it unique. And then your LinkedIn URL is important, more and more important. Recruiters are really looking for that. And the next section is the most often read or frequently read part of the resume by recruiters, because when they're looking at it, they're seeing it pull up on the screen, and they usually just look at the summary. They may glance at how long you've been at jobs and look at your education and maybe software skills. And that's about it, because they only spend about 7.4 seconds looking at your resume to see if you're a good match. So you want to think carefully about your summary section. It should be no longer than 3 lines, just a very executive summary of who you are as a professional as it relates to the job you're applying to. So you want to, again, leverage those key words. And you want that title front and center that you're applying to, especially if you've been, whatever this is, like a business analyst in the past, put it front and center and put areas of expertise. And we do recommend about 9 of those. And a few exceptions, I've thought 12 were okay, with some very technical jobs or maybe some financial leadership jobs that required a lot of areas of expertise. Sometimes 12, but 9 seems to be kind of the sweet spot there. And then after that, an optional section that you can include is an area called key accomplishments, especially if you're in a role that has a lot of targets and quotas and quantitative accomplishments. This could be a good section to have. And this is where you think about your major 3 or 4 accomplishments in your career, and you put those there, or maybe awards that you've received. And this is very commonly used for sales or business development, or sometimes even recruiting jobs. And your professional experience, the formatting needs to be very clean, white space. The bullet points need to be 1 or 2 lines at the very most. And the dates for the company, right, justified. And for jobs in the past, please make sure your verbs are consistent in the past tense. For jobs that are in the present, if you're still working, most of the verbs may be present tense, and there might be a couple things that are past tense if it were a project that maybe you've completed. And then we recommend limiting the number of bullets on for each job to 5 to 8, because if it's more than that, the hiring manager is not going to read them at all. And they should focus on results, and this should not read like a job description. And to illustrate how you can make your bullet points more result oriented, you can ask the question, so what? And then here's an example. And give me a green check mark in the participant box if you've seen me walk through this so what game here before. Give me a green check mark in the participant box. Yeah, a couple people have seen this, but I do this almost every time I review somebody's resume. And this is a real example. One of the bullet points they had for one of their jobs, and they were a business analyst, they said they developed a Visual Basic program that automated the conversion of data. And I asked the question, well, so what? What I was really meaning was, what was the result? What was the outcome? What was the accomplishment? And this person really thought about it, and there really was a result. It reducing the data migration time, and it eliminated errors, and it increased the stakeholder and client confidence. So therefore, he rewrote that bullet point to start with a stronger verb that focused on the result or the accomplishment, that he reduced the data migration time and eliminated errors and increased stakeholder confidence by writing that Visual Basic program. So that's a way, when you read the bullet, you could say, so what? What was the result? And then get to maybe a stronger verb to use on your resume. And when you have multiple roles at one company, I see this quite frequently. What we recommend regarding dates is on the line that you have the company name, put the years that you're with the company, the full time that you're with the company. And then for each title, just in parentheses right after the title, put the dates that you had those job titles. And what this does is it shows the progression within the company. Otherwise, what I see a lot of people do is they justify the dates for each specific job, and then it looks like they work for different companies or maybe a job hopper. But this way, it shows progression within one company. And somebody asked about not months. Yeah, especially if you have, like me, and you have a lot of years on your resume, putting the months is really not important. On the resume, you don't have to show those. Now on LinkedIn, I think it asks you to put the months in there. And on the application online, you may have to put the months in there. But on your resume, you don't have to show it. And with resumes, less is more. The less text you can have, the more white space, the cleaner it is. It's easier it is to read for a recruiter to quickly scan. Oh, you were at that company for quite a few years. That's great. Yes. Okay. And somebody said, although you'd want to put the months on your master resume, correct, because your master resume is kind of your data file of everything that you might need when you're filling out a detailed application or filling out information regarding references, your supervisors and such. So yes, very good point. Good.
And you may even want to, beside months on your master resume, put the date, the actual day, because I remember years ago, I had an issue with TWC. I put down like the 14th, and when they went and checked, they said, oh no, you left on the 12th, so we're not going to approve it or something. And I had to go challenge it. So, you know, whatever details you can put, more details you can put on your master resume, the less things you're going to have to think about in the future.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. And then if you've worked for a company that's changed names like I did when EDS was acquired by HP, there's a couple ways you can handle that on your resume. You can give the current name followed by the old name. So on my resume, it actually said HP Enterprise Services or Hewlett Packard Enterprise Services, formerly EDS, or I could have given the old name with the date of the company that acquired them. And I could have said EDS and acquired by Hewlett Packard Enterprise Services. I could have said that. And then you want to be sure to include your education because that is something recruiters look for, especially if a job requires a bachelor's degree or sometimes a master's degree. And then include software skills. People think it might be silly to list like Microsoft Excel, but if you're applying for a job and they list Microsoft Excel, you want to be sure to list that. Or sometimes they'll even say Microsoft Office. You know, be sure to list that. And if there are any other software packages, list those as well. And here's one of my favorite slides with on the left, you can see an actual job description, and on the right is a resume. And what I'm illustrating here is what we recommend doing is when you're applying for a job, study the job description. You know, actually take a few moments to read it And don't apply if you haven't had a chance to read the resume or the job description, because you need to study what they're really looking for. Number one, to determine if you really do meet the requirements, because in today's job market, you want to apply for jobs where you meet the requirements. So take a few minutes and study that job description. And this one is for a business analyst job, and look for what they're looking for. In this case, they're looking for somebody that can document business requirements. So make sure that your title, business analyst, and documenting business requirements is up front and center. And they're also looking for somebody who can improve processes. So make sure you're highlighting that as well. And there are other keywords like user manuals. Make sure you're highlighting that. And in the bottom part of a job description, it's often a section called requirements for the job, or qualifications, or here's what you need to bring to the job. Look at that section really carefully, because this is where they'll spell out maybe certain methodologies that they require. Like in this case, it's Agile or Scrum Master skills, and then also various software packages, and be sure to include those in your software skills. So please take a moment to do that. One time when I was actually coaching somebody on their resume, we were looking at a job description, and the title looked like a good match, but once we started studying the actual requirements, the person said, oh, I don't think I want to apply for that job. They're looking for a data scientist or something very different. So it's worth spending a few minutes so you don't waste your time applying for something that you would not be qualified for. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question. I'd like for everybody to go into chat and write a number. When you're applying for a job, what percentage of the requirements do you think you should meet before you apply for that job online? So when you're looking at jobs online, what percentage of the requirements do you think you should meet? Yes, and thank you everyone for going into chat and typing in a number. The first one that I see, 90%, that's the best one. Especially in today's marketplace, you're competing with, on average, about 300 other people. So you do want to apply for jobs where you meet a majority of the requirements. I see a couple people said 80%. In the old days, 6 months ago or so, that's what my recruiter friends would say, 80%, 80-20 rule, 80% is good. I would say 80, 90% in today's very competitive marketplace. So very good. Thank you for playing along with that. I appreciate that. And now what we'll do is we will, I've stopped sharing my PowerPoint, and now we're going to share resumes. Let's see, pull up the first one that was submitted. And I think I have to click on a couple things to get it to share. Click on new share. And share it again. I'll have to share it again. Sometimes it kicks me out. I don't know why it's finicky. I have too many things open. Can you see it, Jeff? Can you see the resume? Okay, great. Okay. Thanks for double checking with me here. And I'm going to also try to open up the chat box so that people, okay. And then somebody's asked if we can repost the templates. I think the way Zoom works, if you log in after the templates were posted, you can't see them. So Jeff, I might ask if you could do a favor and post the executive bio and the sample resume. Again, that would be great. That'd be good, thank you. And so what I'm going to do right now for the audience here is we're going to scroll down this resume as if we're a recruiter looking at it. I'll just spend a few seconds scrolling down, and I'd like for everyone to go into chat and type in a few words about what you like about the formatting of the resume, and if you see any suggestions to make it even better, that would be great. So I'm going to scroll down. See, there's a summary, core competencies and achievements. And there's a professional experience section. Okay. Dates. Okay. Okay. And multiple titles within A company, it looks like. Good. And people are starting to write in comments. That's great. Thank you. And some previous work experience. Good, with the independent and then name of the company and titles. Good. Education. Good. And certification, technical skills. Good. One thing I really like is the font. Calibri, very clean, easy to read. And we have some comments here in chat, and the personal information has been removed, but you'd want to be sure to have those 4 pieces of information: your phone number, closest major city, your professional looking email address, and your LinkedIn URL text. And you don't want it to be a hot link for the version you upload into a applicant tracking system, because that can mess up some of the applicant tracking systems. And okay. And learning looks weird at the top. Learning, e-learning. Oh yeah, e-learning does look strange. I don't usually recommend all uppercase, and that can kind of solve that issue. Yes, so it would be E and then learning. Yeah, so I even for headings, I don't use all uppercase. It's a little harder to read, and it can get awkward with situations like that. Okay, get rid of months, yes. And write and justify the dates, yes. Again, you want to make it very easy for the recruiter to see your job history. And so I recommend, and I see this conduit that was formerly Xerox Business Systems, Dallas, Texas. I would make that whole line bold and put that date, the full time you're with the company, write justified. Okay. And okay, added months because without it, the ATS was defaulting to January. Yeah, that might be a situation where you have to clean it up a little bit, or in the version you're uploading, have the months there. Okay, yeah, so sometimes you have to do that. Okay. Technical skills, block out into 3x3 columns. Somebody's suggesting to make them easier to read. When they run together like this, it does make them a little hard to read. So maybe having them in columns, maybe. You can play with that and see what works good.
I think it's okay if it's at the very end like that. I mean, that's what most people have skills, you know, they sort of expect it that way. If you're going to have it up on the first page, yes, you probably want to have the top 9 bullet points or something.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, Jeff. I see it most often at the bottom of the resume, software skills like this. Yeah. Okay. Oops, excuse me. I'm heading to the door for the animals wanting to get out. Sorry about that. I was hearing a strange noise and I realized it's my cat in the closet. So
that's where you keep your cats, in the closet, huh?
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I guess I locked somebody in there when I closed up my door. Anyway, because I always recommend when you're doing a Zoom call to have your background be, you know, no distractions and very clean. And I locked up a cat in the closet.
That's a different workshop.
That's a whole different workshop for that. Okay. And then somebody said the intro is too long. So let's look at the intro. Yes, I would make this opening part. I would really try to get it down to 3 lines if you can. And then here it looks like they've combined the core competencies and achievements. What I'd recommend, again, is core competencies or areas of expertise, just listing those key words, because you want the words to jump out at the recruiter. This is causing them to have to slow down and try to read, to pull information, and they may miss that you have something that's really critical for that job. So I'd recommend redoing this and making it more just bullet points that a recruiter can look at and pick out the keywords in 7 seconds. And if you do want a section about achievements, I would make that, again, a separate section and list 3 or 4 major accomplishments. And those are usually things that are numerically oriented or achieving targets. Okay. Is a good technical term, correct? As an elegant coding. I think elegant is actually a great technical term. I was trained as a system engineer at EDS, and you know, simple elegance is something we talk about in programming. So I think that's fine. And then somebody said, what is ATEC? Okay. And it's best practice to spell out an acronym the first time you use it, except if they use it in the job description, like looking for an AETC certification, that's okay. Okay.
I like the fact that he added remote on there, because I think nowadays more and more people are going to want to know about remote working, and the fact that he's already done that, I think could be a real nice benefit.
You're right. I'm reading more and more that things you can put in your resume like that are important. Yeah, nobody would know what ATEC is. So let's see. Oh, I see. Master Arts and Technology. I don't even know if it's needed.
Well, ATEC is the Arts and Technology College, I think is what it stands for. So,
but you're already saying arts and technology.
Right.
I don't know if it's needed, and people think, okay, what does that mean? So, and then I don't know if Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, I've never even seen it as an acronym. I don't know if that's actually needed. That's just a personal thing there. Okay. And then somebody asked about cost savings. Yeah, at the top of your resume, if you do have achievements or accomplishments, it's great if you can highlight dollar amounts, and then also in your bullet points. And that's a lot of text. If there's any way you can get some of those bullet points down to one line and have them be more results oriented, these kind of read like a job description. You facilitated, you developed, you collaborated. And I would ask, so what, for each one of these to try to get to what was the accomplishment? What was the result? And for the fidelity job, I would list in bold the time you were there, right, justified, 2008 to 2019. But then in parentheses, and you don't need to put PS in parentheses, I would put the dates that you're with these jobs in parentheses. Okay. And even the organizational names, that's not going to really mean anything to anybody. I don't even know if you need that. Once again, less is more on a resume. If you can delete that, I think that's better. Just put in parentheses the dates that you were in those roles, because that's missing, so you can't really see the full picture. But overall, really nice, clean resume. Okay. Any other final comments on that? We have just a couple minutes. I can share the other resume real quickly. And thank you again to those who have shared their resume. You have to click on share once again. Let's see. And I'm just going to go through this real quickly. Got a summary section. I try to get that down to 3 lines for if needed. Certifications and skills. I would make that 3 columns. And
certification should go on the last page with education.
Here's the culprit. Yes. However, I might be willing to say certifications if the job description is really asking for, certifications top and center, if that's a primary requirement for the job. Sorry, my cat's really wanting to be involved today. That's Maya. So it depends on the job. If the #1 requirement is a black belt, and some jobs it is, maybe. Oh, and I like the way you have your dates. Yeah, I would just make this all bold on that first line there. Good. And then you have in parentheses the dates for the jobs within that company. So you were at Pioneer for a long time. Yeah, that's great. Great progression there. Alberton. Okay. Education. Nicely centered.
Do you like them centered, or would you prefer to see them left justified?
I don't know that it matters. This looks visually appealing to me. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And these underlines are probably okay, but in some ATS systems, underlines can cause an issue. So Now, centering a paragraph, I'm not sure about. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Maybe if it's just one line. I might do that one, this section differently. So overall looks really good. And you've used Times New Roman, which is Calibri is the #1 most recommended, and Times New Roman, and you use 10. So that's good. It's better than 9. That's a second recommended font. So, okay. Jeff, you could add any other final comments, and then I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, no, I think that pretty much covered it. And I also I saw a little bit farther down, she said she used to work in a different company. So I like the way it said formerly, whatever. She did a good job.
Yes.
Sharing that out there. Well, here's Carol's LinkedIn profile. If you want to reach out to her, please remember, if you do send a connection request to Carol or myself, please write a personal note. I will not accept any connection that doesn't send me a note saying where we met, why we should connect or something. It's just, it's a rule of thumb. And if you join us on Tuesdays, you have to do the LinkedIn promise. And the LinkedIn promise is that you will always send a LinkedIn request, a written request, comments telling people how we met. All right, let's see here, next page. All right, for those people on Facebook, here's an email address where you can send me an email, tell me what you're looking for, and I will be glad to forward you the resume, the T cover letter, the executive bio, information on the pit crew, whatever it is you'd like to do. Just send it to webmaster@careerdfw.org. Tell me what you're looking for, and I will get it to you usually a couple days. I don't check that account every day, but every few days I do look at it. All right, upcoming programming. As I mentioned before, the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group tomorrow morning at 9:30. We will talk about informational interviewing. So, you find a target company, how is it that you reach out to somebody and you're really not sure how to approach them, how to talk with them. So join us tomorrow morning, 9:30, informational interviewing. Next Tuesday, we have a really fascinating speaker. If you haven't heard him talk before, on LinkedIn Tuesdays, Kurt Vondermatter. He is a executive recruiter. He pays LinkedIn $20,000 a year to use the recruiting package. And he will show you what the recruiting package looks like from the back end, from what he's doing and how he searches for people. So it'll be a fascinating conversation. Please join us on Tuesday. Next Wednesday, our interviewing Wednesday 13-step program has been completed. We've done all 13 sessions for the second time now. For the month of November and December, we have 6 speakers. So we're going to do a special guest speaker series. And this Wednesday will be Confident Candidates, Lessons from the Pit Crew with Mark McDonald. So what Mark is going to attempt to do is to take 13 weeks of sessions and combine it down to 1.5 hour session. So we will get his highlights on Wednesday. All these sessions have been recorded. They will be on the Career DFW Facebook page. They will be on the Career USA YouTube channel. Hopefully follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. Please check each page, and we really appreciate if you would follow and like us. That would be great. Starting next week, for LinkedIn Tuesdays, Interviewing Wednesdays, Resume Thursdays, and the North Dallas Group on Friday, we will have all new Zoom logins. So if you've been saving everything, be sure to check the new logins. We're doing it because we have to eliminate using the waiting room. We have to include a password in the login. So I'll be creating all new Zoom logins this weekend for all the events next week. So you can find them on the Career DFW calendar or in the emails that I put out every day or on LinkedIn every day. If you go to the YouTube channel, it looks something like this, Career USA YouTube. Click on playlist, and then don't click on the video, but click below the video where you see view full playlist, and then up will come all the different sessions that we've done, and you can view and watch any one of them that you'd like. So just please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Carol's a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. Neither of us get paid to do what we do. We're just here to help you land your next great opportunity. As Carol said, this is the fastest hour of her week every week. We really, we enjoy doing what we're doing. We enjoy helping you land your next great job. we survive on donations. That's what helps keep Career DFW going, allowing us to do the programming we're doing, pay for the Zoom, paying for all the things that we have to do. So, please consider that when you do land your next great opportunity, that you please consider making a donation so that we can continue to provide the service that we do for other people who will need it. If your company happens to offer matching donations, please look our name up, allow your donation to double in value. If you don't see us on the list, please reach out to me. I will get the name added as I've done in the past for other companies. So Carol, thank you once again. Everybody else, have a great week, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow about information interviewing.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one, Jeff. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.